Hey, what if I told you that one of the most underrated movies of the 1990s was actually a genius masterpiece that most people completely missed? What if I told you the critics got it wrong, the audiences got it wrong, and it took nearly 30 years for the world to finally catch up? Well, that's exactly what happened with Starship Troopers, the wild, violent, bug-smashing 1997 sci-fi film that blew minds, confused critics, and slowly built one of the most loyal fan communities in movie history. And today, we are going all the way back to 1997 to meet the young, hungry, and beautiful cast who brought this crazy universe to life. And then we are going to find out exactly where each of them is right now in 2026. Some of these stories are going to make you smile. Some might surprise you, and a couple of them might just break your heart a little. So buckle up, because this is going to be one unforgettable ride. The movie that changed everything. Before we meet the cast, let's take a second to talk about the movie itself, because it deserves way more love than it got when it first came out. Starship Troopers was released on November 7, 1997. It was directed by Dutch filmmaker Paul Verhoeven, the same brilliant mind behind RoboCop and Total Recall, and it was based on a classic 1959 sci-fi novel by Robert A. Heinlein. The story takes place in the distant future, in the 23rd century, where Earth's government sends waves of young soldiers called the Mobile Infantry to fight a terrifying race of giant alien creatures known as the Arachnids, or as the soldiers call them, the Bugs. But here's the thing that flew over everyone's heads back in 1997. This movie wasn't just a crazy action film about soldiers blowing up giant insects in space. Paul Verhoeven was secretly making one of the sharpest, most biting pieces of political satire ever put on screen. The soldiers wore uniforms that looked scarily similar to World War II Nazi outfits. The government in the movie was fascist. The propaganda posters plastered all over the film looked like something out of 1940s Germany. And the whole war itself was being sold to young people through slick TV commercials that made dying look exciting and cool. Verhoeven was basically holding up a mirror to society and saying, look at how easily people can be tricked into supporting violence. Most people in 1997 thought it was just a dumb action movie. Some critics even called it pro-fascist, completely missing the joke that was being played on everyone watching it. But the film slowly found its audience. By the time the internet started bringing movie fans together, the conversation around Starship Troopers completely flipped. Today, it is considered a certified cult classic, a brilliant and prescient satire, and a sci-fi masterpiece. It is a devoted fan base that keeps growing with every passing year, and that means the people who starred in it, a group of young, mostly television actors who were barely household names at the time, have become permanently beloved by fans all over the world. So who are these people? And how have their lives changed since that unforgettable year? Let's find out. Casper Van Dien, the hero who never stopped fighting. There is no story about Starship Troopers without starting with Casper Van Dien. He was 27 years old when he stepped into the boots of Johnny Rico, the movie's lead character, a brave, idealistic young man from Buenos Aires who joins the Mobile Infantry and slowly discovers the truth about the war he signed up for. Casper had done a few small TV roles before this, including appearances on Beverly Hills, 90210 and a daytime soap opera. But he was largely unknown. The role of Johnny Rico was a full transformation. He did 8 months of intense physical training, gained muscle, and prepared himself for what would become the biggest role of his life. Casper brought something special to Johnny Rico. He wasn't just a pretty face in a military uniform. There was a genuine earnestness to his performance, a kind of wide-eyed belief in doing what's right that made audiences root for him even as the world around him was doing terrible things. And off-camera, Casper Van Dien turned out to be someone who genuinely loved the role and what it stood for. He has come back to it again and again throughout his career, reprising the character in Starship Troopers 3, Marauder in 2008, and more recently lending his voice and likeness to a brand new first-person shooter video game called Starship Troopers, Ultimate Bug War, that is set to release in 2026. The game is developed by Auroch Digital, and the fact that Casper was excited to participate shows just how much affection he still has for Johnny Rico and for the fans. As of 2026, Casper Van Dien is 57 years old and still very much active in the entertainment world. He appeared in the 2019 sci-fi film Alita, Battle Angel, the 2022 series Salvage Marines, and in 2025, he starred in a Western film called Guns of Redemption. But perhaps one of the most exciting surprises in Casper's recent career is his role in Wednesday on Netflix, the hit show about Wednesday Addams, where he plays a character named Gideon Sterling. It is a role he has talked about with real pride. He has also spoken publicly about his dream to see a full Starship Troopers TV series made, and he would absolutely come back to play Johnny Rico one more time. Casper Van Dien is a man who never stopped working, never stopped showing up for fans at conventions, and never stopped caring about the world that made him famous. Denise Richards, Carmen Ibáñez, the pilot who became a survivor. If Casper Van Dien was the heart of Starship Troopers, then Denise Richards was its soul. She was 26 years old when she played Carmen Ibáñez, the talented and driven pilot who was also Johnny Rico's girlfriend. Denise was absolutely luminous on screen. She brought intelligence and confidence to Carmen, making her more than just a love interest. She was a person with her own ambitions, her own art, and her own story. And the movie launched Denise Richards into a whole new level of stardom. She followed Starship Troopers with Wild Things in 1998, Drop Dead Gorgeous in 1999, and then became a genuine international icon when she played Christmas Jones, the Bond girl in the James Bond film The World Is Not Enough in 1999. The world fell in love with Denise Richards, and then, as Hollywood often does, it got complicated. Her personal life played out in the tabloids in ways that overshadowed her professional achievements. Her marriage to actor Charlie Sheen became one of the most discussed celebrity relationships of the 2000s. Through all of it, through divorce, through raising 3 daughters, through the noise and chaos of public life, Denise Richards kept showing up. She appeared in Blue Mountain State, Twisted, The Bold and the Beautiful, and later joined the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. In 2025, Denise launched her own reality series called Denise Richards and Her Wild Things on Bravo, a show she also executive produced, giving viewers an intimate look at her life as a mother and a woman rebuilding herself. And rebuilding is exactly the right word, because 2025 was, by her own honest account, one of the most painful years of her life. She went through a difficult and deeply public divorce from her husband Aaron Vipers, dealt with personal health challenges, and faced a kind of heartbreak that reshapes a person from the inside out. In a deeply moving Instagram post at the start of 2026, Denise looked back at photographs from a year and said she barely recognized herself. She said it felt like she had lived 2 completely different lives in a single year. But here's the thing about Denise Richards that makes her story so powerful. She didn't disappear. She didn't run away. She leaned into her community, attended fan conventions, went to BravoCon, and was moved to tears by how many people told her that her work had meant something to them. And as 2026 began, she said she was finally starting to feel like herself again, only better. At 55 years old, Denise Richards is still here, still fighting, and still making people feel something every time she appears on screen. And her fondest memories? She has said publicly that filming Starship Troopers was one of the happiest experiences of her career, full of young people who were all excited, all hungry, and all becoming something together. Neil Patrick Harris, from Carl Jenkins to Barney Stinson and beyond. Here is a name that might absolutely blow your mind in context of Starship Troopers. Neil Patrick Harris. Yes, that Neil Patrick Harris, the charming Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother, was in Starship Troopers. He played Carl Jenkins, a psychic and military intelligence officer who shows up in the film wearing a striking black uniform that, by design, looked uncomfortably close to a Gestapo outfit. It was a bold piece of casting, and Neil Patrick Harris committed to it completely. In 1997, Neil was 24 years old and was still widely known as a boy genius from Doogie Howser, MD, the beloved TV show he had starred in from 1989 to 1993. He had spent years trying to escape that typecast, and Starship Troopers was one of the brave choices he made to show audiences something different. And while the film was a pivot point for him creatively, his biggest explosion of fame came years later. In 2004, his hilarious, self-mocking appearance in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle became one of the funniest celebrity cameos in movie history and completely reignited his career. Then, from 2005 to 2014, he played Barney Stinson on How I Met Your Mother and became one of the most beloved comedic actors on television, earning multiple Emmy Award nominations and winning over millions of new fans. As of 2026, Neil Patrick Harris is 52 years old and showing absolutely no signs of slowing down. He appeared in Doctor Who in 2023 as a wonderfully eccentric toymaker, voiced Deadpool in a virtual reality video game in 2025, and made a guest appearance on Dexter: Resurrection. He is also a Tony Award winner for his incredible work on Broadway and has hosted the Tony Awards, the Emmy Awards, and served as a judge on America's Got Talent. Neil Patrick Harris is, without question, the biggest mainstream star to emerge from the Starship Troopers cast. And the journey from that black uniform on the battlefields of Klendathu to the bright lights of Broadway is one of the most remarkable career arcs in entertainment history. Dina Meyer, Dizzy Flores, the bravest heart in the Roughnecks. If you watched Starship Troopers and felt a genuine emotional punch when Dizzy Flores died, then you understand exactly what Dina Meyer brought to this film. She was 28 years old when she played Dizzy, a mobile infantry soldier who was deeply in love with Johnny Rico and willing to follow him into the most dangerous battles imaginable. Dizzy was tough, loyal, funny, and heartbreaking. She was not a side character. She was the emotional core of the entire film. Dina had previously appeared in the 1995 film Johnny Mnemonic with Keanu Reeves, but Starship Troopers was a movie that truly put her on the sci-fi map. After the film, she continued working steadily in Hollywood. She appeared in the Birds of Prey television series as Barbara Gordon and kept making appearances in various films and TV shows over the years. In 2025, in what fans absolutely loved, Dina Meyer reunited with her Starship Troopers co-stars at Emerald City Comic Con, reminding everyone why the connection between this cast and their fans is so special. She is still very much a part of the community that this movie built. Jake Busey, Ace Levi, and a son following his own path. Jake Busey was 25 years old when he took on the role of Ace Levi, the somewhat reckless and endlessly entertaining soldier who fights alongside Johnny Rico. Jake is the son of legendary character actor Gary Busey, and anyone who knows the Busey family knows that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Jake brought a sharp, comedic energy to Ace that balanced out some of the film's heavier moments and made him a fan favorite almost instantly. After Starship Troopers, Jake Busey stayed busy with films and television. But one of his most exciting recent achievements came when he joined the cast of Stranger Things, one of the biggest shows in the history of Netflix, in 2019. It introduced him to a whole new generation of fans who might not have known his work before. In 2024, he appeared in A Gettysburg Christmas. And beyond acting, Jake is a passionate musician who regularly shares his life and music with fans online. At 54 years old, Jake Busey remains a working actor who clearly loves what he does. Clancy Brown, Sergeant Zim, the voice of authority. Some actors have a gift that goes beyond the physical appearance. They carry authority in their very voice. Clancy Brown is one of those rare individuals. He was 38 years old when he played Sergeant Zim, the drill instructor who terrifies recruits and turns them into soldiers. Brown's performance was so powerful and so memorably intense that it became one of the most quoted and most celebrated parts of the entire film. But here is something remarkable about Clancy Brown. As iconic as Sergeant Zim is, that role is almost certainly not the first thing most people associate with him today. Because since 1999, Clancy Brown has been voicing Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob SquarePants, making him one of the most beloved animated characters in the history of children's television. He also voiced Lex Luthor in the iconic Superman and Justice League animated series. He appeared in The Shawshank Redemption, Highlander, and the HBO series Carnival. As of 2026, Clancy Brown is 67 years old and one of the most accomplished character actors working today. His range is absolutely extraordinary, from terrifying drill instructor to cartoon crab to legendary supervillain. Michael Ironside, Lieutenant Raszak, the one-armed legend. When Paul Verhoeven was casting Starship Troopers, there was one actor he had always wanted to work with. He had tried to cast Michael Ironside in RoboCop. He had given him a role in Total Recall. And for Starship Troopers, he created a character specifically worthy of Michael Ironside's imposing presence. Lieutenant Raszak, the one-armed, no-nonsense squad leader who becomes a father figure to the young soldiers, is one of the most memorable characters in the movie, brought to life with raw, understated power. Michael Ironside was 47 years old during the filming of Starship Troopers, and he had already built a career full of iconic roles including Top Gun, Total Recall, and countless other films and TV series. He is the kind of actor who makes every single scene he is in feel more important. His work in Starship Troopers has only grown in legacy over the years, and he remains one of the most respected character actors in Hollywood. Now in his mid-70s, Michael Ironside continues to work and to be celebrated by generations of fans who grew up watching him make villains and heroes alike feel real. The cast that time brought back together. One of the most genuinely wonderful things about the legacy of Starship Troopers is what has happened to the cast over the past few years. Because rather than drifting apart and forgetting about the movie that started so many of their careers, these actors have come back together repeatedly to celebrate what they made. Casper Van Dien, Denise Richards, Dina Meyer, Michael Ironside, Clancy Brown, Jake Busey, and Seth Gilliam all participated in a 25th anniversary reunion discussion in 2022. They showed up at Comic-Cons. They talk about the film with the kind of warmth and nostalgia that makes it very clear this movie meant something real to all of them. In March 2025, at the C2E2 convention in Chicago, a reunion panel called The Only Good Bug is a Dead Bug, a Starship Troopers reunion, brought many of the cast members together again in front of thousands of cheering fans. Denise Richards told reporters that filming the movie was one of the happiest memories of her entire career. She talked about how they were all young, excited, and discovering who they were as actors, and how many of them are still close friends nearly 3 decades later. There is something genuinely beautiful about that. In a world where movie casts often fall apart and forget about each other the moment the cameras stop rolling, this group kept showing up for each other and for their fans. What this movie meant, and still means. Here is the thing about Starship Troopers that makes it so special in 2026. When it came out in 1997, the world wasn't quite ready for it. The satire was too sharp. The critique was too pointed. The uniforms were too uncomfortable. People didn't know how to sit with a movie that was making them laugh while simultaneously asking them to think about things that were genuinely disturbing. So they dismissed it. But time has a funny way of revealing truth. And in a world where government propaganda, military glorification, and the packaging of violence as entertainment have only become more sophisticated and more omnipresent, Starship Troopers looks more relevant today than it ever did. The conversations it is part of now, about fascism, about the way governments manipulate young people, about the cost of blind patriotism, are conversations the whole world is having. The film didn't age. The world caught up to it. And the people who made that film, the young actors who showed up on set in 1996, trained like soldiers, blew up giant bugs, and poured their hearts into a sci-fi satire that most critics dismiss, deserve every single bit of love and recognition they are finally receiving. From Casper Van Dien still living and breathing Johnny Rico nearly 30 years later, to Denise Richards finding her strength after the hardest year of her life, to Neil Patrick Harris becoming a Broadway legend and television icon, to Clancy Brown making an entire generation of children laugh as Mr. Krabs while also terrifying them as Sergeant Zim. These are stories of perseverance, reinvention, and the enduring power of showing up and doing the work. The bugs may have been fake, but the careers these people built, the performances they gave, and the lives they have lived since that November day in 1997 are completely, wonderfully, unforgettably real. Before you go, that is the incredible story of the Starship Troopers cast, then and now in 2026. 29 years after those giant bugs first landed on our movie screens, these actors are still here, still working, still connecting with fans, and still reminding us why this movie deserves so much more credit than it got. Time really does change everything, except for the movies we love. Those stay with us forever. If this video brought back some great memories for you, or if you learned something new today about one of your favorite films, then please do me a favor right now and hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people find this channel and discover stories just like this one. And if you want to be here for the next deep dive into the cast and stories behind the movies and shows that define our lives, then make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. And hey, share this with someone who grew up loving Starship Troopers. Because every great movie deserves to be talked about, and every cast deserves to be remembered. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.